Hi everybody, Laura here for Simon Says Stamp. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have a fun project to share with you using products from the latest Hugs release. I'm going to be featuring the adorable CZ Wild Love stamp set along with the CZ Wild Love coordinating dies. And this is designed by the one and only Kathy Zilski, and I love it because it's got a bunch of adorable critters. And you don't often see Kathy Zilski do cute, adorable critters, but hey, when she does, it's wild love is what it is. So there's a bunch of them in there, kind of hard to use all of them on a card, but I chose 3. I have the kitty cat, the bunny, and the bear. I'm going to stamp these with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink because it's Copic friendly, and I'm going to be coloring in these critters with the old Copics. Okay, so I'm stamping on a little panel of white cardstock. I'm using Hammermill. Whatever type of cardstock that you find works best if you're going to color things in. You know, if you're going to use Copics, for me, Hammermill and Nina Solar White work beautifully. But if you're going to do like a wet medium, like a watercolor or whatever, then you're going to want to use like Tim Holtz Distress watercolor cardstock or, Okay. All right. So I'm moving on to the coloring portion. Now, this is not normally my forte. I'm not really known as a Copic coloring master, but I wanted to try something a little different. This is what I call the no muss, no fuss for the new year coloring technique. And listen, I just made that up right here on the fly. I don't have a name for this. Have you ever heard of the no makeup look where you actually do put on makeup, but you want to look like you kind of don't have makeup on? That's what so you want to color in a critter, but you don't want to put in a lot of effort and you don't want it to look so perfect. This is the no fuss, no muss, right? For the new year. That's what we're going for. And sometimes when you look at illustrations in children's books, if you look, a lot of them are colored very, whimsically, like not perfect, very like loosey-goosey. And that's kind of I wanted to go for here because if you look at the illustrations on these, they're kind of loosey-goosey, like they're not perfect, realistic. And so I wanted my Copics to kind of, go with that flow, for lack of a better term. So what I do is I just go a very light wash from the edge going in, and I don't fill in the whole thing. And I don't try to make it perfect. So a little light wash, then come in with a darker color just along the edge for a bit of shadow. Now, do I know where the shadows should really go? No, but I'm just going on the gut is what I'm doing. And then I go back in with that light one and just give it a once over. Again, I don't go all the way into the center. I want it to look kind of loosey-goosey. Okay, now with the bear, I accidentally went in with the darker shade first. You ever do that? You accidentally go in with the darkest shade and you're like, whoopsie-doo-dah. Okay, so then you just, you just go with it. Okay, back in with the lighter, go back in with that darker, a little bit of shadow. Don't know where the shadow goes? Don't matter. We're no muss, no fuss for the new year. Okay, anywho, I got my marker caps there if you want to know exactly what color I used. All the supplies that I'll be using will be linked in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. Okay, so a little brown bear, a very light brown bear. And as you can see when I fade it into the center there, see that? Just don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about it. Forget about it. Okay, now, you can't forget a little rosy cheek. You got to have a rosy cheek. So I pull out the old R30. I seem to always grab the R30 when it comes to a rosy cheek for a critter. I just, do you have a favorite? What's your favorite rosy cheek shade? I'd love to know because I'm always, open for new shades. I'm always looking for new ideas. Sometimes I search Copic trios or I go on Pinterest and I'm looking for new inspiration. And then I take the R00 and kind of fade out the R30 and then I give a little bit R00 in the inner ear. By the way, did I ever tell you my oldest son Boaz, he adopted a yellow tabby cat. While I was coloring this yellow tabby cat here, I was thinking of my oldest son Boaz. He's living in Germany playing hockey over there and he went to an animal shelter and adopted a little yellow tabby cat, a little one, and he named the cat Frank, so that it would be our dog. Our dog's name is Hank, so now we have Hank and Frank. And I don't know if you know this, but my husband's father's name was Hank. And my father's name is Frank. So these are family names. And when I told my dad, I said, "You're not going to believe what Bo named his cat." He named his cat Frank. He was like, "You got to be kidding me. Is he making fun of me?" He thought, and I'm like, "No, he actually loves the name." And my son Bo said one day, he kind of has a little bit of a dream to have twin boys. And he wants to name them Hank and Frank. But for now, we have a dog and a cat. Well, that was probably too much information. But now moving on to the sentiment. I pulled out the Kathy Zilski Wild About You word die. I did 3 out of white, which I'm stacking up here with a little Barely Arts glue. So stack up 3 out of white. And the backer is, I believe that is Smoke cardstock by Simon Says Stamp. And so I stack up the 3. Don't forget I have the 3 little tittles hanging out there. The dots on the eye is the tittle. We're going to stack those up for the eye in Wild. Now before I put that all together, I'm going to work on the little background panel. I went ahead off camera and trimmed a bunch of strips of solid color cardstock, and I'm going to adhere them on a panel. Now this is a mixture of solid color cardstock. Some of it is Concord 9th. Some of it is Simon Says Stamp. Some of it might just be a mystery. I have all, and here's the thing. I don't know if you've seen this, but I've been watching Kathy Zilski on Instagram, and she's been organizing her solid color cardstock scraps. And I love her idea now that she's moving into her new craft room. She's getting all organized, and it's inspiring me. That's one thing I really want to try to do in this new year is get more organized, especially with my craft area. I'm just longing for better organization, especially with my embellishments and my solid color cardstock scraps. So I made a little stripped up background panel with those strips of solid color cardstock. I'm adhering my Wild About You sentiment onto that smoke background, and then of course the tittle. Now you have 3 little white tittles, and it's easy peasy with that Barely Arts glue and that embellishment wand just to pop the 3 on together so you get a nice little dimensional tittle for your word die. Okay, so now we're basically just assembling this card. I put some foam tape on the back of the word die, and then for the critters, I use the Simon Says Stamp little, what do they call it, adhesive dots or adhesive squares. I really like using multiple different kinds of adhesive. The Simon Says Stamp little adhesive squares come in 2 different thicknesses. So I like to use the thinner one so it fits nicely behind the word die, which is a little bit of a thicker adhesive. And then I took that same Wild About You, and I'm going to die cut it just in the O, which is the heart, out of some bright red cardstock. I'm going to pop that back down into it just to give a little pop of color right inside that heart. Now I thought about adding embellishments, but I decided to keep it kind of simple. I like that pop of color in the heart of the O. And it's a fun little card for Valentine's Day, but could be used any time of the year, featuring the CZ Wild Love and the CZ Wild About You. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.